Hello everyone, welcome to episode 8 of our Tuesday Tips. Today I'm going to talk about masking, blending brushes, and just a little bit of a twist that you can do with that. So I wanted to point out in our annual catalog on page 128, there are two different sets of decorative masks. So you've got these here and these here, and it kind of shows you set the mask over some cardstock, and you can use a blending brush or a sponge and just apply ink right over there to get those patterns. You can also use our embossing paste and one of the little palette knives over here and put some paste for a raised image in those different patterns. So we do have decorative masks available to order. What I wanted to do today is put just a little bit of a twist on that, and I wanted to take our dies, just ordinary dies, and make my own shapes that I can use as masks. So I've got this one here from the Ornate Layers dies, and I cut out this star from the Christmas Trimming dies, and then just an easy label from the Tasteful Label dies. So what I want to do is just show you real basic what you can do with these shapes that you die cut. So I grabbed some of my husband's painter tape, so I hope this works well. I'm just going to kind of put a little loop behind here, and I'm going to just kind of center this on this. So this is basic white label and a basic white layer of cardstock. I've got a blending brush and fresh freesia, and we're just going to get some ink on here and then just tap it a little bit. I don't want to go directly onto the paper because I don't want like a darker blotch of ink. So I'm just going to start off the side and blend over like this. Just kind of go right around the edges. Obviously, I'm getting ink on the label itself, which is just fine. But then I'm just going to kind of go around the edges a little bit too. So I want to create like a little bit of a border around the outside and then that more defined area where the label is. You might notice that I get the ink and then I tap it a little bit and I start off of the cardstock off over on my scrap paper and pull it over. Again, it's just to avoid, I can do it on the back. If I tap the ink and I come right on here, do you see what that does? It just gives me those dark spots, which that's okay if that's what you're going for. But if you want it more even, start off of your scrap paper and carry it over onto the cardstock. So I want it to be a little more pronounced around this label. So I'm going to apply a little bit of a heavier hand right around the label here. And put some in the center just so the label is full. So then what I'm going to do is carefully peel off. Looks like the painter's tape is working to not damage the cardstock underneath. So now I've got two things. I've got this label, again from Tasteful Labels dies, that I can use black ink or even basic gray, stamp a greeting, and use this piece on a card. But what I've also got is this really cool layer where I masked that out. It's perfectly white underneath here, and I can stamp a greeting here. So it's almost like a faux layering type of thing, because if I put this on a card base, it's going to look as though there's two different layers here, when in fact it's just one flat, smooth layer. So that's one way that you can use a die cut piece to mask and create a layer for your card. Another thing that you could do, let's take the Coastal Cabana ink and another blending brush, and I want to try and see what this does. So this is a piece of Coastal Cabana cardstock. This is a really, really pretty die from the Ornate Layers dies. And again, I'll just do my little loop of painter's tape on the back. This just kind of secures it and holds it in place so it doesn't move on me. I should maybe do two. I'm just going to do one in the center. We'll see how it works. Again, just center this a little bit on here. And we'll see what this one looks like. This first one, was just a pretty basic open pattern. But let's see what it does with all of this detail. So I'm applying some ink on the blending brush, again, tapping gently. And then I'm just going to come in here, right over that especially decorative part. It's okay that, it's going inside a little bit. I can use this white piece on a card if I want to, but really I just wanted it to serve as a mask. So if I don't end up using that, I'm okay with it, but I mean, why not, right? So we'll just keep going. And this, of course, is tone on tone. So the last one I did Fresh Freesia ink on basic white cardstock. This time I'm doing more of a monochromatic where I've got Coastal Cabana ink and Coastal Cabana cardstock. So we'll see what that looks like. Obviously, the longer I do this, the more I go over it, the darker it'll be, the more dynamic the difference will be between the layers. All right, let's see what this one looks like. So if I peel that off carefully, there we go. Oh, it's kind of fun. So it's a very subtle frame on there. Again, I don't know that I would put Fresh Freesia with the Coastal Cabana, but for the sake of illustration, actually, I could turn it over and give you a better idea too. I could put a label inside of that sponged frame and stamp a greeting on there. I think I like the white better than the Fresh Freesia with Coastal Cabana. But I just love what that does to the background there. It just adds something that's so simple. That's probably stuff you've got at home already. So some of these dies that you have that you use for layers on your cards, look beyond that and see what you can do with masking and sponging. There's one more thing I want to try. We'll see how this one goes. I'm going to take just a little bit of this tape and let me see if I can just kind of apply it right there. We'll see how it goes. Applying Coastal Cabana ink again, and I'm just going to sponge ink over this really detailed star die. It's from the Christmas Trimmings dies. You can see it's got a lot of really small lines on there. So we'll see how this one works. What I'm trying to do here is just create a little bit of a background. Again, this is monochromatic. Oops, and it moved on me a little bit. I think you could do, oh, I kind of like that. So I'd have to figure something out because you can definitely see where that tape was, but I think it's a really fun idea. So if I rotated just a little bit, I'm going to use the same tape for now. Good tape down here. I'll just hold it with my finger. But I think this is just a fun way to create some backgrounds with things you already have. Like I said, I mean, we've got those decorative masks and they're great, but you've got some things probably in your stamping supplies that you can use for masks already. So all I did was take the basic white cardstock, die cut these different shapes, and then I'm just using them as masks to do the sponging. Okay, so you get the idea. I could do the whole background with this star, and I think that would just be really fun. So those are just some quick tips for you this Tuesday. Look at the dies that you already have. Blending brushes, if you don't have our blending brushes, you're going to want to get them. They are amazing. They do a great job. And until you actually have it and feel it, it's hard to describe like how soft this is. These little bristles are just so dense in here. It gives such good coverage. So any ink you've got, If you've got a sponge, ideally a blending brush because they're so awesome, but just look for some dies that you have at home, whether they're intricate, detailed, or whether it's more of a basic shape, and play around with it a little bit and see what you can do with masking and sponging. All right, have a great day.